A man in New Jersey unfortunately passed away due to lung cancer. He passed away at the age of 55. His name was Leroy Blast Bill Black. And apparently he not only had a wife, but he also had a longtime girlfriend. And each of them were feuding as to who would get to write the obituary and what the obituary would include. So as a result, they each wrote their own obituary, and the press of Atlantic City decided to publish both of them side by side. Amazing. So
and his nickname was Blast, and they literally put him on blast.
They put him on blast, exactly. So here are some differences between the two obituaries. His wife included the following. She wrote, he is survived by his loving wife, Bearetta Harrison Black, and his son, Jazz Black. He is also a father to Malcolm and Josiah Harrison Fitzpatrick. Okay.
Jazz Black is a badass name. Mm-hmm. Okay, random note.
So there's the part from his wife's obituary, or the obituary his wife wrote for him. His longtime girlfriend wrote the following. He is survived by his son, Jazz Black, siblings Donald, Faye, Cherry, Janet, Vilma, Lorna, Clover, Audrey, Marcia, Sandra, Rosemarie, and a host of other family, friends, and neighbors, and his longtime girlfriend, Princess Hall. So, I mean, it's interesting. So is this what happens to marriage, like down the line? Like you just kind of accept the fact that you're married, you know, you're the main squeeze, but you have like some fun on the side?
Well, it seems like in this case he was like de facto polygamist, because that doesn't sound like somebody on the side. Mm-hmm. That sounds like he had two wives. I mean, yeah. She's listing like 18 different characters from Good Times, and you know, and they're all part of his family, and the other ones got the other family. And by the way, there's a very famous reporter, I always forget his name, and I don't want to defame the wrong person, mm-hmm. but that after he died, they found out like, oh, Mr. Respected Journalist for CBS mm-hmm. also had a completely different family in a different part of the country.
Wow.
I don't know how they do that. How do they have the time?
No, that's the best point, because I can understand having a family and really struggling with the burdens of raising a family. There's a lot of hard work that goes into a marriage and raising kids, right? And so for some people, the outlet is to have an affair. I'm not excusing it, right? It's wrong, and there should be open communication, and maybe, who knows, maybe your partner would be open to, you know, having some relations outside of the marriage. But nonetheless, like, why would you want the burden of raising two families? That sounds fucking horrendous.
To run between the two, and they're both, in this case, apparently they knew each other, they're fighting.
Yeah.
Oh, what an unbelievable headache.
No, it doesn't.
And by the way, there's no way my friend Blast over here didn't have several other girls on the side.
Yeah.
Because you're not running two families, and then you're going to have moral problems with having other girls. You see what I'm saying? I think. I could be wrong, but maybe he was like the most principled polygamist. No. Two families, and only two families.
So the vast majority of divorces are because of extramarital affairs, infidelity. And so if that's our human nature, like how can we find ways to solve that? Because I feel like it's super unrealistic to think that your partner is going to be faithful to you for decades. Mm-hmm. It's unrealistic. Like, look, don't get me wrong. I will cut a bitch, right? I will. But on a very logical, rational human level, I understand where it comes from.
Right after you cut her, you'll be like, no, I understand why you did it. I mean, I still cut you because I had to do it.
No, I don't understand why she does. Well, I do. I mean, Christian's pretty fine. But, like, I understand why he'd do it. And I'd understand why anyone in a marriage, man or woman, would be tempted. Because sometimes you get tired of steak, right? Sometimes you want some freaking fried chicken, or, I don't know, how about some grilled salmon? Like, you want something different, right? So I get that.
Anybody get the sense that this story is not about Leroy Black, but about Anna Kasparian? Okay, so look, honestly, one way to do it is a way that our society is not yet comfortable with, which is open marriages. So we haven't gotten there yet. We're still living in the old world and old assumptions of, no, what do you mean? Mary Sue and Billy Bob have been married for 58 years and never looked at another person. Now, in reality, they looked at other people, okay? And probably Billy Bob went to hookers, okay? Oh, and those conventions, Billy Bob cleaned up. Okay, so, but we don't know. But even if he didn't, and by the way, a lot of them lived in a small town in Kansas. They had no other options. So people forget that part of it.
So that's the solution. You just move to a small town in Kansas.
So now, but in this day and age, yes, it's definitely different, but people refuse to acknowledge that it's different. I think, and this is not personal. This is about, to answer your literal question of where do you think society is going to go. If I had to guess, and I like to guess, I'm going to guess that open marriages are going to become much more common soon, really soon.
Yeah.
Because how much cheating can we do before we realize, oh my God, it turns out people cheat. It turns out we're not monogamous. Like, when is it going to get through our thick skulls?
I know, but jealousy is a powerful thing.
It is. I mean, look at you. You're willing to get ready to.
By the way, just to be absolutely clear, I wouldn't literally cut a bitch, okay? That's just a figure of speech. I'd find other ways to get my revenge.
But so that's why we're stuck in the predicament that we're in.
Yeah.
Because it is a super powerful urge to procreate with many different people. It's true for men, it's true for women. We are literally built that way. We're programmed that way. At the same time, it is also a totally normal human urge to be super jealous.
Yeah.
We're also I know some argue that we are not programmed that way, that it's societal or cultural. I don't believe that. Every society, and for biological reasons, it makes sense. You don't want your woman to run off and get impregnated by someone else, and then you got to raise their kid. That is an evolutionary giant disadvantage. That is why you get jealous. For women, you want your guy to stick around and help you raise the kid. I know this is oversimplifying.
Yeah.
But that is why jealousy is also totally human. And they are in conflict with one another. And it's very hard to resolve. But my guess is trying to keep one side bottled up for 50 years is probably not the right answer.
True. We'll see how this develops in coming years.
Yes. Well, it's not going to develop at all for Leroy Black because he's dead.
Yeah.
But for the rest of us.